Hello guys, how's it going? Today, motorcycle video. Yes, finally a motorcycle video on this channel. I know you've been waiting for a long time. Today we're going to talk about a conundrum. Something that happens to every adventure motorcycle rider at least once in his lifetime. I'm talking about what bike to choose next. Come with me.
Whoa, okay, hold on. When I started editing this video, I realized that there was way too much stuff to say for it to fit in a single video. So this is going to be the first part about why I would want to upgrade from the CB500X and what are the quirks or the things that I really want an upgrade from. And the next part is going to be about what bikes I consider for an upgrade. So let's go, enjoy that first part.
So I have a new mic setup. I hope you can hear me okay. So the conundrum here today is what to choose next for the bike. And do you even need to change the bike, So obviously, as you can guess, if I'm asking myself this question and making this video, it's probably because I've been thinking about it, right? And yes, I've started to think about maybe upgrading to something new, something slightly different, but in the same kind of theme as the 500X. Now, first of all, I want to start by saying that this is not a video to say, oh, the 500X, it's trash and whatnot. No, all the contrary, actually. I love this bike. I really love this bike. I think I made the right choice. It's really amazing. The power delivery is very smooth. It's predictable, it's linear, it never catches you by surprise, which I think is a great thing, especially when you start or you don't have that much experience on the road, which kind of was my case, really. I mean, I have been riding motorcycles for 14 years, but it was mostly off-road. I've always had dual sports and enduro bikes, and this one is really 500X. It's the first one that was really more road-oriented with a little bit of off-road capability, of course. So I think it's very good to have this power delivery and this handling of the bike. It's not too heavy of a bike. I mean, it's still about 200 kilos, so it's not small either. But, it's the mid-weight adventure class, right, that is so popular nowadays. And I think it's the right spot. It's the sweet spot in terms of mass. Now, again, if I'm thinking about switching bikes, there has to be a reason, right? If you've seen my video on the 1-year review of this motorcycle, then you already know what the points are, but I'm going to summarize them here. So the one gripe that I have with this bike that I think is the biggest selling point for other bikes in the category is the suspension. I know I've already said that in another video, but the suspension, it's okay for road use. Right now, I'm on paved roads. It's fine, It's sufficiently damped. It bounces a little bit up and down when you have bumps in the roads, but, it's relatively good. It's relatively comfortable, and I can ride all day. And I have been doing some rides where I was riding, 8 hours, 10 hours in the same day on this bike, doing, 300, 400 kilometers in nice and twisty roads. And, there's not really a problem. It's very comfortable for that. But as soon as you go off-road, you feel extremely limited by the suspension. And in my 1-year review, I said that it was mostly the forks and that the rear was okay, but I recently had an experience that actually made me change my mind. So let me just count that to you really quickly. Basically, my experience was with my other bike. So maybe you don't know, but I have 2 bikes right now. I have this one, the 500X, which I really love for like long distance traveling. And then I have my enduro bike, which is a Yamaha WR450F, which I'm just going to call, the 450. And that bike is quite an old one. It's from 2004. It's very bare bones. It's carbureted. So I think it's really nice to have such a motorcycle on which you can go legally on the roads just to do, 10, 20, 30 kilometers, but not much more, and then have really a lot of fun in the gnarly paths and in the forest and in the mountains, right? And basically gnarly off-road. The problem with that bike is that you absolutely can't do travel with it. It's not the way it's set up. But, you know, this is not a review of my other bike, but just to say that this bike is really kitted out for off-roading. Like, really. It's 100%, you know, if you have a cursor between streets and motocross or, you know, off-road, that other bike that I have, the WRF 450, it's full motocross, right? It's full enduro, full off-road. It happens to be able to go on the roads, but it's just not designed for that. And when I went back to my place of birth in the summer of 2022, unfortunately we didn't have that much of a good weather, but I did manage to ride a couple times my 450. Oh, there's a tractor coming up. And what happens with that bike is that the suspension, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what kind of suspension I have on the Enduro, but know that it's like a pretty good suspension and it's dialed in for off-road. And I was going down a slope, so it was rocks and dirt and gravel, you know, like typical off-road stuff. And you have sometimes these trenches that are dug sideways into the path. So when you go down, you kind of have to like slow down before it and try to absorb it with your legs, right? So you're going to be standing like this and you're going to be like absorbing it with your legs, trying to master the motorcycle's weight and maintain it straight so that it doesn't like start dancing everywhere, right? And being used to the 500X, because I've been riding it for about 2.5 years now, being used to the 500X, I was expecting the rear end to shoot me up like a catapult, because this is what happens with the 500X. It has way too much rebound. And it took me a few seconds to realize what had happened after I passed this little ditch. Because what happened is that it didn't do that at all. Because the suspension is properly dialed in and it has very low rebound. So it's highly damped, so the rebound, it compresses, but then the rebound is fine. You know, it goes back to its neutral position in a nice and smooth way. And I was expecting the thing to shoot me up because that's what the 500X does. And then I realized, wow, I had forgotten what a good suspension feels like. And I can tell you that this is the one single most annoying part about this bike. It's the fact that the suspension is just not designed for off-road. But the bike can go off-road. You could probably see in my other videos that I've been to some places that are, you know, quite gnarly and lots of slope. And I'm not talking about the very nice, smooth gravel road that, you know, your grandma can ride a motorcycle on. I'm talking about something a bit more serious, a bit more involved, which is the kind of stuff that I want to be able to do with a motorcycle. By the way, look at this place. Isn't that nice? Little road in the middle of nowhere. Little hills. Makes things always more interesting, hills, I think. But there is one other thing that really starts to be lacking, in my opinion, for this bike. And that is power. I know, this has already 50 horsepower, and honestly, you don't need more. This is more of a want than a need, because see here, I'm touring at 40 kilometers an hour on back roads, country roads. There's nobody else except that tractor that we saw just before. You know, I don't need to go fast. I don't necessarily want to go fast. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that fantastic? What an amazing little spot. Why would I want to go 100 kilometers an hour through that? Well, first, that road wouldn't allow it, but you know, why would I want to go so fast? I don't really need to go that fast. I don't want to go that fast on these kinds of roads. But then sometimes you have to take the highway to get to some place really fast. And on the highway, this bike, it kind of lacks the power, right? At 100 or 110 kilometers an hour, it's okay. You can maintain that for hours. But if you want to ride faster, for example, the limit here in France is 130 kilometers an hour, usually on the freeway. That's going to be kind of hard to hold for a long period of time. And you could feel that the engine is running as fast as it can. It's really struggling to keep up. And when you stop after an hour riding like this, you can smell that the engine is hot. You know that particular smell when an engine is hot? and you can hear the fan kicking in to try to really cool down the vehicle. Like, you know that it's not designed for that. And this is not why I bought the bike, so, you know, it's not really a problem. But then, see, on these roads, I can go a little faster, right? This road allows for it. See? And I just got from 40 to 90 kilometers an hour in like 3 seconds, right? So, do I really need more power? No, I honestly do not think I need more power. But I want more power. There are some roads where you really want to be able to be slightly more sporty and aggressive. At least I do. And it's not that I like to ride all the time like that, but sometimes it just kind of stings me and I just want to be a bit more dynamic. And with this bike, you really start feeling the limitation when you're trying to do that. So, to conclude with this part, I love the CB500X. I think it's a great motorcycle. It's good for beginners, but it's good for more experienced riders that don't want an expensive machine, that don't want too heavy of a machine. It runs smoothly, it's great. The interval for maintenance is like 12,000 kilometers. I would recommend that you don't wait that long, but like, it's very reliable. I've never had a single problem with the Honda. So it's a very good value. For the money, I think it's incredible value.
So that's it for the first part about why I would want to change the bike. And in the next parts, we're going to talk about the contenders and what bikes I'm considering and why some of them would be better for some uses and others for other uses. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was useful to you, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and give a like and comment below, and yeah, all that YouTube stuff. Bye.